Hello everyone, welcome to CS for All. I am Saniul Hussain, your host for today's video. Today we are going to quick solve a recent Google on-site question. So let's dive straight to the question. We are given a list of employees with their ID, manager ID and name. The question asks us to print the names of all the employees in a hierarchy. On the left, we have the list of employees and a perfect hierarchy of this list is printed on the right. Now, let's dive deep into this particular example and see how we get this pattern. Let's make a column for the parent ID and another column for its children. So now we have a table in front of us. We will start from the top. So first employee is Alice. Her ID is 8 and her immediate subordinates or children are employee 7 with ID 7 and Bob with ID 2. Now taking employee 7 as parent, we have no other subordinate or children under it. So we assign it to null. Then we consider Bob with ID 2 as a parent. Bob has a single child, employee 3 with ID 3. Now we make employee 3 as a parent. Employee 3 has two children, employee 6 with ID 6 and employee 4 with ID 4. Taking employee 6 as a parent, we have no other subordinate, so we assign it to null. Now considering employee 4 as parent, we have a single child, employee 5. Taking employee 5 as parent, we have no other children associated with it, so we assign it to null. That completes our entire table. If you had any confusion here, please repeat this part of the video. Now, my question to you is, who is the ultimate manager here? Think for a moment. Now, the ultimate manager is someone who has no parent and also has the highest ID value. So, I can clearly figure out that Alice is our ultimate manager. We have created a flow diagram to represent all the managers and their subordinates. So, Alice stays at top. She has subordinates employee 7 and Bob. Employee 7 has no subordinates and hence it's assigned null. Bob has one subordinate, employee 3. Employee 3 has again two subordinates, employee 4 and employee 6. Employee 6 has no subordinate, hence assigned null, and same for employee 5, it has no subordinate, hence it is also assigned null. Now the question is, how do we actually print this hierarchy? We start with a DFS or depth first search call. There is a two column table at the bottom of the screen. That table would list all the call stacks which have already been processed and all pending call stacks. So we first call the highest ID, that is ID 8, Alice. We fill Alice in the bottom table under the done section because it's being processed. Alice is present at level 1 and it gets printed. Now we go to its subordinates, that is employee 7 and Bob. So there will be two calls. First, let's call for employee 7 and fill it in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Under the pending section, we will have Bob. Employee 7 is present at level 2 and gets printed. Employee 7 has no further subordinates, so we return back to Alice and then go to the pending call for Bob. We fill Bob in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Bob is present at level 2 and it gets printed. Now we go to its subordinate, that is employee 3. We fill employee 3 in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Employee 3 is present at level 3 and it gets printed. Now we go to its subordinates, that is employee 4 and employee 6, and there will be two calls. First, let's call for employee 4 and fill it in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Under the pending section, we will have employee 6. Employee 4 is present at level 4 and it gets printed. Now we go to its subordinate, that is employee 5. We fill employee 5 in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Employee 5 is present at level 5 and it gets printed. Now employee 5 has no other subordinates, so it returns back to employee 4 and then to employee 3 and then it goes to the pending call for employee 6. We fill employee 6 in the bottom table under the done section because it's currently being processed. Employee 6 is present at level 4 and it gets printed. Employee 6 has no further subordinates, so we return back to employee 3 and then Bob and finally to Alice, and thus the entire call stack is complete and my hierarchy is also printed. Now let's jump straight to the code. First, we are creating the skeleton of the system. The class employee consists of employee ID, its manager ID, its name, and a team under it. We are creating a map to link an employee with other associated employees. We are creating a variable max ID that will store the ID of the ultimate manager. Then we are traversing through all the employees and linking the employees to their IDs on the map. If the employer ID is same as the manager ID, chances are it is the ultimate manager, and then we keep track of the ultimate manager. If the employee ID is not same as the manager ID, we will push the current employee into its manager's team. Then we create a variable highest which points to the ultimate manager. Finally, call a DFS to print the ultimate manager and its subordinates in a hierarchy with an indentation of 3 spaces at every call for better look. If an employee is pointing to a null, that is, if no employee exists in a parent employee's team, just return from the call. Else, print the current employee's name with an indentation of 3 spaces and then traverse through the current employee's team and again do a recursive call for each until the call stack becomes empty. So that's all for today's video. Please feel free to comment any doubts you have. We will try to resolve them. We will share the link to the working code in the video description. And if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.